Hello, my name is John Barton. I represent the International Institute of Business Valuers. And today's course is on valuing early stage companies. One note before we get actually into the material, keep in mind as we go through the course, the terminology that we will use in this course is from the International Valuation Standards put out by the IVSC, or the International Valuation Standards Council. The models that we're going to be talking about today are on how to allocate value, not on directly how to value an early stage company directly. As you probably already know, the valuation, the initial valuation of an early stage company is going to be fairly subjective relative to the valuation of an established company. We all know the tools we use to value an established company. We may use a discounted cash flow model, we may use a guideline company market method or a transaction market method. Those methodologies for valuing a company, by definition, have to be applied to an established company. But if we have an early stage company that has not reached commercialization yet, we obviously can't apply market multiples to that company. Also, in an income approach context, it's very difficult to establish a discounted cash flow model where commercialized profits might not come for 5, 10, or 20 years. So we will talk about methodologies we'll be using for the actual evaluation of the early stage company, but as I said, most of the material in this course is on how to allocate value. We will also talk about the stages of company development and how to model complex capital structures. A complex capital structure is a capital structure where there are typically multiple levels of preferred stock as well as common stock. And again, depending on where you practice, there may not be, you may not have preferred stock, maybe there are only different forms of common stock, but the concepts would also apply. Typically, complex capital structure means there are different securities in the company that have different rights of ownership and different preferences on the liquidity of the company. So we'll be talking about those. Objectives of the course: to understand the challenges of assigning value to companies in the pre-commercialization or early operating stages of development. Know the relevant value definitions and the account context. Many of the topics we'll be talking about will be in the context of not just of IVS, but also in the context of IFRS under fair value accounting. We will also talk about the stages of company development. We'll talk about estimating the value of early stage companies. We'll talk about the types of securities in complex capital structures. And finally, we'll talk about modeling capital structures through different models: the current value method, the probability weighted expected return method, or PWERM, the option pricing method, and the hybrid method. So we will ultimately have two objectives in the course. First is to assess the entity value of the ESC, the early stage company. How do we assess what the value is? And many of these companies, as I mentioned, are pre-commercialization. And then the second step in this course, as I mentioned, is to assign that estimated value over the preferred and common stock in the company.